Well, welcome. Please introduce yourself and say what technique you use and what your profession is, a little bit background.
My name is Georgina Ford. I'm a British court reporter. I use the English system, which is palantype, rather than the American system stenograph, but it is still a corded keyboard and it works in exactly the same way. And I use Eclipse software.
And in what kind of job situation do you work in?
I mainly do international arbitration, where I'm very often the only native English speaking person in the room, which can be quite challenging. But I also do American depositions and some captioning work as well.
Okay, and are you self-employed or are you on payroll?
No, I have a small company, it's just myself and my partner.
We have so much noise.
Okay, I have a small company, just myself and my partner, and we work together providing the transcripts for arbitrations and court hearings.
And how big is the group of colleagues in the UK at the moment?
It's quite hard to tell actually, because people are divided up into different groups. We have a specific register for people who do speech to text, so that's captioning, and there's about 30 people on that register at the moment, but it's very hard for people to get qualified. So lots of people still undertake this work, but they aren't on the official register. And then for court reporters, the British Institute of Beta Reporters, which is our association, they have about 200, I think, 250 at the moment, but that also includes pen writers as well as machine writers. And then of course there are some people who don't belong to any, so it's hard to keep an accurate track of numbers.
Yeah. And what are the challenges within your profession?
Getting new people in and qualified, because we don't have any training resources anymore. The school that used to be in Ireland, where a lot of people trained, that closed down a number of years ago, and so the only way to learn now is independently through the internet.
Yeah, but within your profession or your daily work, what are the difficulties you can encounter?
It's hard to say really. It depends which area you're working in. If you're working in a courtroom scenario, it would be judges who don't really understand what you're doing, because most things are tape recorded these days and they're not used to having a court reporter in the courtroom. So when they do have one, if they need real time, for example, they tend to forget you're there and that you have needs as well. Like you need a break, you need to have lunch. So things like that can be a real issue for some people.
And what would be the reason to have a live captioner there instead of recording it?
Because they like to, on a big case, they like to be able to have access to the testimony straight away on the screens. They mark sections of the testimony and then they have their transcript straight away at the end of the day for them to review and prepare the next witness's evidence or their closing submissions for the next morning.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, and about the skills, for example, if somebody it's possible to get the education, what kind of skills do you think they would need to make it to this profession?
Very good English skills for a start, although you can to a certain extent learn that as you go along. We have found that lots of people who are musical and have experience of playing a musical instrument also seem to excel. It must be something to do with the, coordinating your hands. And being slightly obsessive, I think, also works. Whenever you get a group of court reporters together, we all sit down and talk about how do you do this word? I have a short form for that word. So, yeah, there's a little level of obsessiveness in there, I think.
And the stress, how do you deal with that? Stressy situations?
Well, I do try to keep calm, which can be very difficult sometimes. Luckily, because my partner is also my colleague, we can kind of bounce the stress off each other. He understands if I'm having a very bad day, I understand if he's having a bad day. So we can talk it out after the job's finished if it's been particularly difficult. But because we travel so much, I do like exploring new places and going out afterwards to just calm down, just sit down somewhere quiet, with no noise, and just let the words go away.
Yeah. And you mentioned you have a small group of colleagues that you work together with.
Yes.
Do you also have contact with other colleagues across the country, or maybe even with the United States colleagues?
We do have quite a strong community where we all contact each other on Facebook. I mean, I know several of the American reporters, and we have various Facebook groups that we use to keep in contact, mainly for sharing things like brief forms and also swapping jobs. So if someone can't do a job, or they know someone lives closer, so it would be more convenient for that client to have someone closer, we swap information like that. So we do have a good community, basically focused around Facebook groups.
Yeah, yeah. And your jobs is always on location, you don't do any remote work?
I personally don't, because I don't like not being able to see the person speaking, but there is quite a large number of my colleagues who do a lot of remote captioning, and they're fine with it, but it's just not something I like to do.
That's also for legal then, or it's just only for?
No, that would just be for captioning.
Right.
So for a deaf client at a meeting or something, but that's not for me. I don't like that.
Do you have any questions?
Maybe which personal or interpersonal skills do you think a professional needs in this profession?
Interpersonal skills. You do have to have a lot of patience, I find, especially when you're trying to explain, I need a certain chair to sit on. So you're interacting with, for example, people who work in the courtroom who don't really have any experience with what your requirements are. And the same if you go to caption a conference, they're not necessarily going to know that you need to be sitting in a certain position. So you do have to be very patient with people and good at explaining easily and quickly what your requirements are, and not sound too much like a prima donna. You have to keep calm even if someone isn't really understanding what your requirements are. So I think that's a very important one, patience.
Any more questions? Well, thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.